United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I will ask everyone to mute their electronic devices so we can proceed uninterrupted. I'll begin with the establishment of a quorum and agenda. Madam Clerk, I do believe we have a quorum.
I confirm the presence of a quorum.
Okay. And with regard to the agenda, let me just note some things. Number one, there are 2 items that will be deleted from the agenda. Ordinance 2256. It seems the volunteer firefighter who was going to be appointed here has found other employment. And Resolution 2022-32, a resolution concerning a swimming pool. The Planning Commission's action on that has been deferred. I will also note, for the benefit of everyone, including those in the audience, that we will have an executive session at the end of this council meeting. We're saving it for the end so that people don't have to wait around and then come back for other business that might interest them after the session. I can say that I do not expect that any specific action will be taken by council during this executive session. It is simply an opportunity to update the council on a matter concerning the possible purchase of real estate, which is one of the exceptions that allows us to go into executive session. So with that, we're going to go to the minutes, and we start with the minutes of our regular council meeting of October 3rd. These minutes have been circulated and amended. Do I have a motion to accept those minutes as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We have also the minutes of the October 20th special council meeting, which was the town hall on levies. Since there was a full contingent of council there, we had to deem it to be a council meeting. And minutes on that have been circulated, and I would ask, is there a motion to accept those minutes as circulated?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. We turn now to public comments, and our first commentator is from Hamilton County, and I will let her introduce herself, but I will say that she has indicated her presentation may take some additional time beyond our 5-minute normal for people to address council, and I am going to exercise the prerogative of the chair by extending her time to up to 10 minutes. Proceed.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Elise Rowlett, and I'm the Outreach Specialist for Hamilton County Resource. Hopefully, I do not take 10 minutes. I'm going to try to keep it very short and sweet, but I'm here to give a quick heads up on the Hamilton County Solid Waste Plan Update. Formerly known as Hamilton County Recycling and Solid Waste District, we are a non-regulatory county office with the mission of reducing waste that goes to the landfills. We are part of the Department of Environmental Services under the Board of County Commissioners. Before we dive too much into the plan update, I want to quickly highlight a few programs that we have to support our communities in reducing how much waste already goes to the landfill. So first, we have grants. We have a residential recycling incentive grant, as well as a waste reduction innovation grant year-round. We have annual campaigns to reach out to residents and teach them about recycling and other forms of waste reduction. We have environmental enforcement with funding a full-time sheriff deputy to investigate illegal dumping throughout the county. And we have drop-off programs that we have where we have yard trimmings drop-off year-round, as well as an annual household hazardous drop-off program. One of the functions of a solid waste district is to update a 15-year solid waste plan every 5 years. This plan considers if Hamilton County will have enough capacity to dispose of our waste and what programs our office will have to meet the state mandated recycling goals. The full draft plan is available on our website under About Us, but we have been working on the plan update since early 2021 and are now in the final phase. This is a rough timeline of where we are at now. So we had the Ohio EPA review in September. We are currently making final edits October through December, and then it will go out for 90 days of ratification in early 2023. Once we go out for ratification, we have 90 days, and we'll be asking communities to pass resolutions approving the solid waste plan update. According to the Ohio Revised Code, we must have communities representing 60% of the population, and we must have approval of the largest municipality, which is Cincinnati. Our last plan update received 100% approval, so we're hoping for a good turnout this year as well. The plan update itself is 300 pages, so I am going to give you a few highlights of it. The first one is the residential recycling incentive. The residential recycling incentive program is budgeted the same as the last plan at $800,000. Should the revenue go $100,000 or higher than projections, the current draft has those funds going to the residential recycling incentive to increase the budget to $900,000. New in this plan, communities will be able to count commercial recycling and composting programs, and we are adding a minimum threshold so communities will at least receive a set amount. That's yet to be determined, but $5,000 is the current projection. Glendale in 2021 received $7,700 from the residential recycling incentive because you had a really great diversion rate of 30%. The commercial and industrial sectors make up 86% of the waste generated in Hamilton County. That's landfill, recycling, and composting. Yet historically, Resource has only allocated a small percentage of our budget to working with businesses. Increasing our budget in this area will allow us to provide assistance to even more businesses in Hamilton County and more significantly reduce Hamilton County's waste. We also hired a local consultant, the Rice Educational Consulting, or REDCON, to evaluate our current programs from a diversity, equity, and inclusion standpoint, and help us to develop future measurements and goals. The full DEI report is on our website and also is incorporated into the plan update text. It is very important to us that we offer accessible and inclusive programming to reach all of the people who live and work in the county. Unrelated to DEI, one of the last pieces we are researching now is how changing our out-of-district fee would impact the waste flow into Hamilton County. So if we increased the fee for Butler County waste coming into Hamilton County, would that decrease the waste or not? We're trying to figure that out, and we're doing some heavy research on that. We are not looking into increasing the fees that would impact in-district businesses or residents. Okay, that is all of your time I will take today, but I wanted to thank you for allowing me to come and present. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to the solid waste manager, Michelle Balls. Her contact info is on the final slide. Any questions for me that I could possibly answer right now?
Well, we were pleased to hear that Glendale is recognized as having an excellent diversion ratio in its recycling program. It's something that we've worked hard at over many years, and it's nice to have it recognized by the county.
Yes.
That wasn't a question, just
No, you're one of the top
patting us on the
communities.
back.
Yes, we appreciate it.
I do have a question, and I recently tried to determine where to take hazardous waste. And the best I could find was that periodically there is a program to do this, but I think the last time it had just expired or just been executed, and that was in Cleves, I think, which is a long way away to take a limited amount of hazardous waste. So is there anything in this program that will address that?
In this program, we are hoping to do more recycling drop-offs throughout the year. We only can afford that one big drop-off, like that was done in Cleves in October. However, we're hoping to get more neighborhood drop-off sites moving on through all of the communities so that we don't have to have people waiting and holding their products until one time per year. So we're hoping to get more universal recycling.
Does your program offer anything like that Blue Barrel program, which is where you drop off wires and computer stuff?
We do not offer the Blue Barrel program
Okay.
or anything like that. What we have is on our website, we have sorry, I'm getting close to time. What we have is on our website, we have a page for household hazardous products. If you're interested in dropping them off, other than, of course, the one time per year that we have it, we have lists of places that will accept certain household hazardous products, such as motor oil and light bulbs and other like gasoline, liquids, fluids such as that you might keep in your yard or something like that.
Thank you.
Have a question.
Sorry.
So in your drop-off program, you have resident drop-off, yard trimming, composting, and all that. The village picks up all the leaves,
Yes.
but a lot of residents bag them, and the trash collects that. Would a program like support actually picking up all of our leaves, or having a drop-off place so that our community could drop off our leaves?
Like a communal thing where all the leaves can be collected and taken to like a yard trimming site? Is that what you're
Yes,
thinking?
yes, because currently we do it in one of our parks, and that's very unsightly, and it's a major issue that we need to address.
Okay.
So would this program maybe help in something like this?
Yes, very possibly. And a grant would help with that as well.
Okay.
To get like the collection tools needed to take it to our big yard trimmings drop-off site.
Great, thank you. Okay. David?
Thank you.
Over here, David.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to address council? Come forward.
Hi, my name's Ron Vischer. I'm here to announce to the Glendale community an Eckstein Cultural Arts Center funding celebration. And I'd like to inform the residents of this kickoff celebration for the fundraising for the Eckstein Cultural Arts Center, which of course is located on Washington Avenue. The event will be a dinner, cocktails, and a presentation held at the Glendale Lyceum on December 8th, starting at 6 o'clock. National and regional fundraising opportunities have been our focus to date, and we've decided that now is the time to invite the participation of the greater Glendale community. So if you would like to make a gift, volunteer your time, or have more information about our vision and mission, please contact me. We will reach out to residents, but we don't want to inadvertently miss folks who should be included. If you're interested, again, my name is Ron Vischer. I'm in the Glendale directory, and my phone is at 513-771-2129. Feel free to leave a message. The event is free, and attendance is by invitation only. If you would like to attend, please contact me for an invitation. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Kevin Parrish, resident at 176 Washington here in the village of Glendale. For years, I've been bringing issues of the sanitary sewer Phase 1 reduction project. It seems that with our current public records system, that lots of information has been misplaced or lost. My last public records request was for the pre-construction sign-ins sheet, which would give us an idea of the contractors and subcontractors that worked on this project. Instead, that was not available, but what was available was the bid opening sign-in sheet. This is dated Tuesday, August the 29th, 2017, at noon. I'm confused as to there's only one bidder. The rest on the sign-in sheet is Walter Cordes, our village administrator, Steve Cantor, our engineer, Kevin Bale, and Jeff Swazenbach. They're all village employees. So how did we do this project with only one bidder? I'm confused as to, I thought with a bid, there had to be more than one bidder for it to be legal. Anyway, for the record, I would like this to go to the Laws Committee for review because it seems quite obvious that that's a shoo-in when the Instraform company gets this without being contested as to what they submit for us to look at. It seems odd that nobody else has questioned this, but there's a lot of odd things that are related to this Phase 1 sanitary sewer project that has no history, public records concerning inspections of work being done. We had to be an inspection before we had payouts for the periodic payouts that occurred on this project, yet there are none available. And then we have a Public Records Commission that has done nothing but sit on their butts and put in no protocol for how we handle public records. That makes us look a little bit more than just incompetent in our handling of our business. And yet, with the level of racism that exists here, we have people that look at me because of my color and doubt that the information that I bring to this council is not credible. Well, I wouldn't dare, because of my color, knowing the history of this community, come before this atmosphere and not be credible, because I've run into so many instances of Glendale business that is not credible, but you accept what they say. We need to look at what's going on here, especially with our water issues, that people stay quiet even though their houses and property are being affected. We need to look at how we do business when financial statements, finance report are retarded.
You have about a minute.
You give us a financial spreadsheet that groups things together. Finance report is an itemized statement, individualized, that show exactly what we paid for what. And I'm just a high school graduate of accounting. And here we have you all. It's pitiful. It's just pitiful. Thank you.
Does anybody else wish to address council?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, as chair of the Laws Committee, I would like to respond briefly to Mr. Parrish and invite him to the next Laws Committee meeting. It will be posted in the usual manner, hopefully, and I hope you'll be there to participate.
Will it
I'll
be in the
alert
middle
you
of
in
the day?
advance for clarity on what you're asking the Laws Committee to look into.
Will it be in the middle of the day?
3:30 to,
I will not be able to make it. I'm coming off of a 14-hour shift tonight to get here.
well, if we could get something from you in writing, perhaps we can proceed, and I'll work with you on that. I don't want
Many
to
things in writing
ignore.
that has gone unaddressed by our public records.
No, I mean
system.
from you in terms of what you'd like for the Laws Committee to do. I'd like us to be responsive to what you're asking us.
What I'm asking is, does it not take more than one bidder on any project that we are soliciting for bidders? That's all, to have it a legal thing, that's all.
We'll look into that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I did not hear anybody else who wanted to come before council, so we'll turn to the old business. And the first item is ordinance 2022-04, an ordinance inserting chapter 154.59 in the Village of Glendale Code of Ordinances, establishing regulations related to residential and commercial signage in the Village of Glendale as recommended by the Glendale Planning and Historic Preservation Commission. As those who have been with us for some time will realize this matter has been before the council for quite some time. We seem to just get close and then something happens, like the Supreme Court issues a new decision on signage, and we have to send that back for work at the Planning Commission and the Drafting Committee. In any event, at the last meeting, on October 3rd, we introduced and amended this ordinance, and because the amendment was significant, we considered that to be the first read of the ordinance. We are now at the stage of the second read of the ordinance as re-amended, and we are truly hoping that by the December meeting, we'll be able to have a third read and pass the ordinance. Is there any comment or discussion on this ordinance at this time? We turn to ordinance 2022-54, an ordinance amending the job description of the fire chief for the village and declaring an emergency. This is the third read of this ordinance, and it was introduced to council by a motion of Mr. Bessel and a second of Ms. Masenko, and is therefore properly before council. Kathy, do we need a new ordinance, a new motion to bring this up?
No.
Okay. So, looking at this and looking back on it, I sort of looked at it and said, why does it have declaring an emergency? Why does it have emergency language in it? And then I recall that at the time we put this ordinance forward, we really thought there was some significant urgency to getting this out public for purposes of our search for a fire chief. I think the urgency on that has diminished. I'm not in favor of doing emergency language unless there's truly an emergency. So I would entertain a motion to amend this ordinance by deleting the emergency language.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of amending the ordinance as moved, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So this is the third read. Is there any discussion on the underlying ordinance? I will note that since the second read, we did make one amendment, and that was to eliminate a section called core values, which sounds nice, but it was more aspirational than something that you could, in a concrete manner, act on. So we deleted that section, and with that amendment, I would ask, is there a motion to approve that amendment?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, I'm sorry, discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I don't see a need to go back or read on, just by eliminating a section in the position description, so I would ask if there is discussion on the proposal itself. Okay, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll for the ordinance?
For ordinance 2022-54, Mr. Bessel.
Aye.
Ms. Duke.
No.
Do we have a motion to approve it?
I thought that's what we had.
We amended it and voted, and then amended it and voted.
Right.
Did we start with that? With
We
the
started
motion?
with the ordinance itself, which had been moved and seconded in September, and then a second read in October. And we then did an amendment to it, so we're really looking for a vote on the ordinance as amended.
Yes, I would have a motion
Motion
to
for that.
approve as amended.
Okay.
Okay,
Second.
all right,
If we're gonna
okay,
roll call vote.
all right. So can I have a motion to approve this ordinance as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? No, Madam Clerk.
For ordinance 2022-54 as amended, Mr. Bessel,
Aye.
Ms. Duke,
No.
Ms. Masenko,
Aye.
Mr. Basemuth,
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler,
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carried. We turn to ordinance 2022-55, an ordinance revising the transaction fee for credit card payments to the Village of Glendale, Glendale Mayor's Court, and Glendale Utility Department, and declaring an emergency. This is the second read of this ordinance that was introduced at the October meeting. Is there any discussion on it at this time? If there,
Mayor, I'd prefer we just go to the, finalize it, just go to the third read, so we can have it ready for the December.
so what you'd like to move to waive 3 reads? Okay.
Your equipment's ready, right, David?
Yes, and quite frankly, it would actually be preferred because we have to give a certain amount of time notice to our credit card companies to alert them to this fee. So waiving the third read would be beneficial in that pursuit.
I'll second Mr. Kreidler's motion to waive the third read.
Okay. Discussion on the ordinance itself, motion? Okay.
Will news about this be shared with the public, Friday newsletter, the same way we do most?
Yeah.
news?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
To dispense with the 3 reads, Mr. Bessel,
Aye.
Ms. Duke,
Aye.
Ms. Masenko,
Aye.
Mr. Basemuth,
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler,
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
For ordinance 2022-55, for the ordinance, Mr. Bessel,
Aye.
Ms. Duke,
Aye.
Ms. Masenko,
Aye.
Mr. Basemuth,
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler,
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carried. As I said at the beginning, we are deleting ordinance 2022-56, and we will proceed with ordinance 2022-57. And that is an ordinance authorizing amendment of 2022 appropriations of the general fund and declaring an emergency. And I'm going to ask Mr. Lumsden to give us an intro here.
Thank you, Mayor. This ordinance authorizes amendment of the general fund appropriations in the clerk and treasurer fund or department to permit the hiring of an additional part-time administrative office employee. This employee would come to us from the Village of Silverton, where she was employed as the finance director for 5 years, during which time Silverton enjoyed clean audit reports each time. Additionally, she has over 10 years of experience with the state auditor's office as well, so her expertise is deep and broad. Additionally, in Silverton, she operated under the UAN accounting network, which the village is looking to move to in 2023. So her presence will be a tremendous assistance to us in the office in getting that transition going early next year.
What is her position? Question?
Go. Well, can I have a motion for the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
And a motion to dispense with 3 reads?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, now a
No.
question.
David?
Mhm.
I may have missed what you were saying. What is her title? What will be the title of her position?
Her incoming title with the village will not be finance director. That's a statutory title.
Right, that's why I was.
But we will find a title that fits her job description. We're not sure what that is exactly yet, but she will fit into the chain of command, so to speak, within the administrative office,
And
specifically in finance.
Can you provide council with a written summary of her bio? so we'll know something about her. You just told us.
Sure.
I appreciate hearing it. The ears isn't as good as the eyes.
Okay, yeah, I can certainly circulate
Thank you.
something.
Will there be a job description prepared for her as
Yes.
there is for the fire chief?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
And this would be effective,
I'm sorry, thank you, Nancy, I did fail to mention that. She would be beginning with us the Monday following Thanksgiving on a part-time basis, not to exceed 20 hours per
got it,
week.
thank you.
And then we'll build her into the 23 budget as
Is-
appropriate.
Is this a managerial or administrative? Not administrative, clerical?
Yes, this is not a managerial supervisory position. She would report directly to me.
Is it a professional position?
I'm sorry, in what sense?
Is it clerical or professional? You just mentioned it's not managerial, she's not supervising
Correct.
anyone, but as I recall, you did mention quite an illustrative background for her.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to,
So it would be a clerical position. She would be, as I said, a part-time employee. Her interests are not managerial or supervisory. In fact, quite the opposite. She's happy to take on the parts of her job description and do so on a part-time basis for the benefit of the village. So there'd be no management or supervisory role for her position.
we may need to look at the nature of her job description, her qualifications, and not simply pigeonhole it as clerical in the sense that one may think of it as clerical. It may be professional, and that's why I was asking.
Okay.
All right.
Any further discussion?
So, David, you said what is the start date?
Start date would be November the 28th.
November 28th. Okay.
Further discussion? Madam Clerk?
For ordinance 2022-57, to dispense with the three reads, Mr. Bessel,
Aye.
Ms. Duke,
Aye.
Ms. Masenko,
Aye.
Mr. Basemith,
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler,
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ordinance 2022-57 for the ordinance, Mr. Bessel,
Aye.
Ms. Duke,
Aye.
Ms. Masenko,
Aye.
Mr. Basemith,
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler,
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carried. Ordinance 2022-58, an ordinance awarding the contract for the water meter replacement project to Buckeye State Pipe and Supply, lowest and best bidder, and as recommended by the village utility engineer, authorizing the village administrator to enter into a contract with same and declaring an emergency. Mr. Lumsden, Mr. Basemith, whoever wants to kick this one off.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mayor, Mr. Basemith. So on the 28th, the village opened bids for the water meter replacement project. That includes approximately 1,060 or 70 meters in the village that will be replaced with AMI remote read meters. These meters, specifically the ones provided by Buckeye State Pipe and Supply, are Badger brand, which is the village's current brand of meter. They will be read using cellular technology. Village will, under the terms of the contract and agreement, enter into a 10-year service agreement with Badger and AT&T for the cellular data services that are required to remotely report the readings. This has been covered in quite a bit of depth through utilities and finance committees. I'm happy to take any questions that might still be outstanding on the project, but we're aiming for a completion date next summer, June or July, and the contractor has indicated that they'll be able to meet that deadline.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
And a motion to dispense with three reads?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
I'd like to emphasize that this ordinance is brief, but their description of the work and the what they're doing under this project is quite detailed. The operative language for me in this ordinance is the whereas, the third whereas, and that is the Utilities Committee recommended Village Council approve the proposal submitted by Buckeye State Pipe and Supply, which says to me, you go back to that proposal and look at what they are to do in terms of the details. You won't find it in the ordinance, but it's there in the proposal, and I draw that to your attention. Thank you.
Other discussion? Madam Clerk?
Ordinance 2022-58, to dispense with the 3 reads. Mr. Bessel.
Aye.
Ms. Duke.
Aye.
Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basemith.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ordinance 2022-58 for the ordinance. Mr. Bessel.
Aye.
Ms. Duke.
Aye.
Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basemith.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carried. Turn to a related ordinance, 2022-59, an ordinance authorizing amendment of the 2022 appropriations of the Waterworks Fund, Sanitary Sewer Fund, and Village Plan and General Improvement Fund, and declaring an emergency. Mr. Lumsden again.
Thank you, Mayor. So the previous ordinance authorized myself to enter into a contract with Buckeye for the meter project. The total project cost listed in the first whereas under Buckeye's bid is $777,480, call it $89,000. The specific amount is listed in this ordinance. The Finance Committee met following the Utilities Committee meeting on last Thursday and recommended that the breakdowns be as they are printed here in the ordinance. Ultimately, this would result in the enterprise fund paying for $300,000 of the total project cost, and that includes the engineering design portion of the project as well as the upgraded billing software. This ordinance also includes a project contingency of $38,900 that is 5% of the total project cost. That is a maximum for that contingency. We intend not to use any of that contingency unless the village directs a change on the project ourselves rather than the contractor issuing a change order. The second section outlines $36,900 as an amount not to exceed for engineering design or engineering construction services, and that would be coordinating with the contractor, on-site consultation and inspection, approval of pay requests, those sorts of responsibilities. The total project cost, including these 2 items, is $853,288.68 to be broken up, as said, between the water, wastewater, and VPGI funds. And the water and wastewater funds will be the first expended, and then any balance beyond that will be spent out of VPGI. So when the project comes in under budget, VPGI will not be responsible for the full amounts listed here.
Do I have a
Thank
motion
you.
for the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
And a motion to dispense with 3 reads?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Yes. So we're looking at the ordinance language itself, and I thank you for identifying the account number, the account description, and you were using the word increase. Am I to understand that this amount of money is being added to that already appropriated in these various line items?
Correct.
Then where are the funds coming out of?
So the funds that are being spent in these 3 funds are allocated as currently as reserves within those funds. So we have a balance in 601 water, 602 wastewater, and 404 VPGI that is unappropriated, that will be appropriated as a result of this ordinance,
Out of reserves?
out of reserves.
From 601, 409, 602-408. And what was that third one you mentioned?
404, the four funds that are listed here in the ordinance.
Okay, reserves, thank you.
Further discussion? Madam Clerk?
Ordinance 2022-59, to dispense with the three reads. Mr. Bessel?
Aye.
Ms. Duke?
Aye.
Ms. Masenko?
Aye.
Mr. Basemith?
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler?
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge?
Aye.
Ordinance 2022-59 for the ordinance. Mr. Bessel?
Aye.
Ms. Duke?
Aye.
Ms. Masenko?
Aye.
Mr. Basemith?
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler?
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge?
Aye.
Thank you.
Ordinance carried. We now turn to Resolution 2022-30, a resolution authorizing the village administrator to enter into an agreement for the purchase of electricity for the village's electricity aggregation program. We've seen this before, but Mr. Lumsden, could you refresh our memories?
Most certainly, thank you, Mayor. The council has seen this before, but perhaps not at this time of the year. We do not renew until the fall. However, with the energy market being as it is, AGE, the village's energy consultant, has recommended that all members of the group move quickly to potentially lock down a renewal price for electricity supply before market forces change in our disadvantage, requiring the passage of this resolution a little bit earlier than we typically do. But as always, the electricity rate is very competitive when compared to the Duke base rate that is charged to non-aggregation customers. Thank you.
Do I have a motion for the ordinance? A resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
David, could you offer a brief explanation of why this is a good deal for us? I feel like I occasionally hear people questioning whether it really is a better move. You get certain advertisements in the mail and that sort of thing about what appears to be a better rate.
Certainly. Oftentimes there are, without getting too into the weeds on it, Duke has a base rate that they charge all customers. They also, through Ohio's Energy Choice Program, you have the ability as an energy customer to go out and obtain a more competitive rate on your own. Very often those third-party companies, phone calls, flyers, door-to-door sales, which is still illegal in the village, and other things like that will take place. The difference between the village's aggregation program and those perhaps more predatory sales tactics, the village's aggregation program requires no contract or agreement. There's no fee to join. There's no fee to leave. Oftentimes, these third-party companies have those associated with their agreements. So this is a program that simply offers savings to residents and is free to opt out of if at any point energy prices are more competitive elsewhere.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Further discussion?
Quick question, David. How do we pay the consultant? Is there?
They are paid. They are paid out of PUCO rates, I believe. I'll verify that.
Because I don't ever remember.
We don't pay them, at least not in the traditional sense. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Further discussion? Madam Clerk?
Resolution 2022-30 for the resolution. Mr. Bessel?
Aye.
Ms. Duke?
Aye.
Ms. Masenko?
Aye.
Mr. Basemith?
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler?
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge?
Aye.
Thank you.
We turn to Resolution 2022-31, a resolution authorizing the conditional use of land at 65 Coral Avenue for an in-ground swimming pool to be constructed pursuant to certain conditions. As you know, swimming pools are considered a conditional use under our zoning code, and therefore we have received a recommendation from the Planning Commission that met earlier this evening that this application be approved, and it is now Council's decision to approve it or not. Do I have a motion for this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Madam Clerk?
For Resolution 2022-31, for the resolution, Mr. Bessel,
Aye.
Ms. Duke,
I'm sorry. This is to place an in-ground pool at 65 Coral Avenue?
Correct. It's part of the new house that the new owner is going to build.
Okay.
But we only have authority or, action over the swimming pool as a conditional use.
Mhm.
Aye.
Ms. Masenko,
Aye.
Mr. Basemith,
Aye.
Mr. Cardler,
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Resolution passed, and now, Resolution 2022-32, as I said in the beginning, has been withdrawn. It may come up at a later point. It was more complex than most swimming pool issues, and so the Planning Commission voted to defer action on it for a month. And we turn now to a verbal resolution, Resolution 2022-33. This is a resolution confirming the mayor's appointment of Jeffrey Whitty to fill the vacancy left by the resignation of David Hamilton and serve out the remainder of Mr. Hamilton's term, which ends January 1st of 2023, which you can understand is a fairly short tenure on the Board of Appeals. But we will, it is my full intention that come January 1st of 2023, Mr. Whitty will be reappointed to a normal 5-year term. I guess the motion that I left out here actually was that this is a vacancy on the Board of Appeals. David Hamilton, after many years of faithful service, and I'm going to be getting to that at a later meeting, decided he had certainly done enough for the village in that area, and so he did resign, and we posted a notice of the opening and received some interest in it. Mr. Bridenstine, the chairman of the board, and I interviewed them and came to the conclusion that the best fit was Mr. Whitty. He is a 38-year-old veteran of law enforcement. His most recent position was chief of police in Woodlawn. This is an enforcement position to some extent. You have to just make judgments about how law is going to be applied and not just judgments about law, but about how it should be applied, because a lot of what the board does is consider variances in zoning applications, and particularly cases where maybe it's going to be applying the law strictly, maybe unjust. And so the board considers those situations within the confines of the overall zoning law. So, do I have a motion for this resolution?
So moved. So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Is Mr. Whitty a resident?
Thank
Yes.
you.
Okay.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
And is that a requirement for this position?
Oddly enough, no,
No.
but I'm not specifically, but I don't think we would ever consider anybody who wasn't.
Mhm.
With a verbal resolution, I guess I can just ask for ayes and nays. Okay. All those in favor of this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And now we turn to the reports of the mayor, village administrator, standing committees, and special committees, and I get to lead off. And this one is one of the more fun ones. because for the first time in my memory, we have more births than deaths to announce. And so I'm going to start with the births. The twins, Theodore Francis Cobb and Benjamin Francis Cobb, were born on October 8th to Meg and Adam Cobb. Daniel Philip Elfin was born on October 20th to Keith and Jennifer Elfin. And Cassandra Miller was born on the 25th to Megan and Clay Miller. So this has been a banner month for this sort of thing in Glendale, and we'll hope this is a sign of things to continue. Unfortunately, I do have one death to announce. Yatendra Mirandas Shah, the husband of Uma Shah, passed away on September 24th at the age of 75. Let's have a moment of silence. May he rest in peace. The news is generally favorable here. We had a terrific pancake breakfast. This is the return of a beloved event to our village, and it was held on October 8th upstairs here in Town Hall. Well attended. And once again, the firefighters distinguished themselves, for which we are deeply grateful, in stepping forward to organize and work this event. So thank you very much. Thanks to all the guys who put in their time and effort on it. On that same day, we had Barktoberfest, which I am told was a great success. I was pretty well wiped out by working the pancake breakfast and didn't make it up there, so I apologize for that. But if anybody has anything to add about Barktoberfest, they're welcome to do so. Okay. There was a village Halloween party that was held on the 15th. And of course, we had trick-or-treating on October 31st. So it was a fun month. We had a town hall meeting, which we just talked about the minutes of, in advance of Election Day, and it was held on October 20th. There was a presentation from our administrator, David Lumsden, on the state of village finances. There were questions and answers and comments from residents, and this event was streamed on YouTube and can be viewed on a link on the village website and also through ICRC. So I hope everybody will look at that too, if they have not already done so, to educate themselves on the issues there. Election Day is, of course, tomorrow, which is why we are back here in the council chambers and not upstairs, which is where they are even as we speak, and can hear them setting up for the polls. Polls open at 6:30 and close at 6:30 in the morning and close at 7:30 in the evening. So it'll be a lot of time to get up there, and I think I know council joins me in asking that all of our residents vote as they can. Just a quick one here. The street resurfacing project has been completed for this year, and with that I can say that all of the streets in the village, I'll say virtually all because I haven't counted each and every one of them, but that need resurfacing have been resurfaced, with the exception of those streets that have water mains under them that are targeted for replacement. We don't want to repave a street and then dig it up again quickly to replace the water main. I'll say on Saturday, our fire department invited the elected officials to a session where they told us a little bit about what they do and what it takes to be a Glendale firefighter. And I think everyone on council, everyone who attended would agree that that was a very worthwhile event, and we appreciate it. Our solicitor, got to say, said she was perusing the Ohio Revised Code recently, to which I say she needs to get out more. But we thank her for her diligence. She came across an ordinance that she had written for Lockland, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Vacant property in foreclosure ordinance. And basically what this does is it requires a mortgage holder, if they're going to foreclose on property, and that property is vacant or becomes vacant, they need to inform the village. This doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's a real pain in the neck. And that's because we're searching for the owner. We're searching for who owns the property, because often it's not being well maintained, and we can't find anybody. And if the mortgage holder has to notify us, then at least we have some in to getting the information quickly. So this is something that I think could be very interesting. Right now I don't propose doing anything with it. We're going into budget right now, and so I'm just teeing this one up and letting you know this could be coming along, and we can think about a committee assignment for it. That does it for the mayor's report. So I'm going to ask our administrator to give us his thoughts.
Thank you, Mayor. As the mayor mentioned, the street resurfacing is complete. It's important to note that with the type of resurfacing that we do, that often for the first few weeks after it's applied, it does take some time to settle and create that smooth road surface. But as it's done in the village for over 10 years with all the streets that we've resurfaced, with this same approach, we'll do it to the ones that were recently resurfaced. In the event that anything less than desirable takes place with the road surface, we'll of course address that with the contractor on a case-by-case basis. Wanted to update everyone on the quiet zone restoration status. As I was talking to Ms. Pasenko before the meeting, we are now in the wait period of hurry up and wait. The village has completed all of the paperwork, permit filings, applications, insurance, all the different pieces that we need to complete and submit. Now we are waiting on CSX to assign railway safety crews to supervise the work. We don't have a definitive timeline on that yet, but as soon as I do, I'll circulate that to the village. But that project is ongoing. We're trying to get those horns silenced as quickly as we can. The utilities department did hydrant flushing in the month of October. We did unfortunately experience one water main break on Coral as a result of a hydrant that failed and shut. That break was pretty quickly repaired by our utilities department, so very good job by them to get that back up and running with minimal interruption of service for residents on Coral. Finally, the Records Commission met in October. We're discussing some updates to our records retention schedule as it pertains to more electronic and digital records. I would, of course, encourage those. Our public meetings would encourage anyone with interest in public records to attend. And that, unless there are any other questions, that concludes my report.
I'm just going to add on the quiet zone report that what happened here, as far as we can tell, is that for some reason CSX decided to do work on our crossing at Oak that was not part of their general schedule. And we don't know the whole reasons why, but they did not give us the advance notice that they should have given us, that we should have had, in order to be prepared for this work. We could have had all of the parts ordered and in hand, all of the contract work done, everything ready to start digging as soon as their work was done. And that's the way it should have happened. And once this whole system is over, we are going to have a heart-to-heart talk with the railroad and do our very best to make sure this never happens again. This is, as far as I'm concerned, it's outrageous. And I share all of the pain of our residents who live close to the tracks and are dealing with this. So we apologize for that, and we're going to do our best to make sure it doesn't happen again. So with that, Madam Clerk, would you call for the committee reports?
Finance Committee, please.
The Finance Committee did meet last week. That's where we determined, it was a very brief meeting, we determined the best funding sources for the water meter project. The Finance Committee will be meeting over the next 2 weeks in an attempt to have a budget ready for December, and I will try to schedule that offline.
Thank you. Fire Committee, please.
Fire Committee met on November 2 as a first review meeting for the proposed 2023 department budget. Our next meeting, and those minutes are posted, by the way. The next meeting will be Monday, November 14. That is a follow-up meeting again on the budget. And then on November 17, the committee will be getting together to get an update on fire truck pricing, delivery, and trends across the industry. That pretty much is it. I'm going to turn it over to Captain Eibel. By the way, and thank you. I echo the mayor's comments about the training session on Saturday. It was magnificent. You guys put in a tremendous amount of work and crammed in a whole heck of a lot of information in, what, 4 hours?
Yes.
It's great. Thank you very much.
Well, we thank you guys for all coming for that. I know, even though it was a lot put into it, we had a good time doing it, and you guys had some really good questions that we didn't even think of. So I know that helped us out on our side.
I will say just one thing came out of that meeting, and that's already happened, and that is that I learned that the fire department didn't have all the information it wanted on hydrants in the village, which ones, because unfortunately not all of our hydrants are working at peak efficiency. And so I arranged I asked Chief Yetter to get together with the head of our utilities area, Kevin Bell. They have already done that. They've already gotten the information to the fire department. So at least now when you guys go out, you know exactly which hydrants you can use and which ones you can't.
Yep, so I'll be updating that in our current system that I showed everybody on Saturday. As far as last month goes, we had 33 runs total, with 12 runs in the village, 14 EMS runs, and then we had 7 runs outside the village. Last month we had a total of 2,400 hours of personnel hours on station and at home or training. And then just want to say we appreciate everybody coming together for the pancake breakfast last month. I know for us it was a short turnaround time, but for how much time we had a really great turnout, and we thank everybody who was able to come up and help. I know we had at least 20 of our guys there helping throughout the day, which made the day go a little bit quicker. So as right now, we're planning on it for next year. We got elections on our side coming up for association, so we'll get more out probably after the first of the year. So, thank you.
Thank you. Laws and Claims, please.
Laws and Claims Committee did not meet in October. The last meeting was on August the 4th, and unofficial draft minutes are sent to committee members and also to the residents who had attended. The chair has asked the village to post these unofficial minutes for public viewing and access on the village website. This request was denied, and the unofficial minutes are not posted. There are some concerns being expressed by email, and this will be addressed in the next Laws Committee meeting. They are, meaning the unofficial draft minutes, are circulated to committee members and to the residents who have participated. Thank you for that. The next Laws Committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, November 16th, 3:30. And we hope to be out by 5 o'clock. Thank you.
Thank you. Police Committee, please.
Wednesday, November 16th at 3:30.
The police committee did meet on October 20th. We had a very busy agenda with mayor's court fees. We reviewed those. We got into a fireworks ordinance draft. And so, and we're going to get into police personnel matters. So we're having another meeting on November 15th, Tuesday the 15th at 4 p.m. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chief Walsh.
Thank you. One of the last police committee meetings we had was brought to my attention several vehicles, different vehicles around the village that were parked illegally or a nuisance or unoperable. I am happy to say that Sergeant Barber went around and identified a bunch of vehicles. They all haven't been moved, but the big majority of them have been moved at this point. So that's a good start to getting some of the junk vehicles taken care of. And that's all I've got.
Thank you.
Thank you. Public Buildings and Historic Preservation, please.
Public buildings did not meet in October, but we are also scheduled to meet this next Wednesday, the 16th, at noon, and we'll go over how the budget has looked this year for the buildings for 2022, and also start reviewing 2023. And and I'll send out an agenda to the members, but we'll also go over all the projects that happened this year and where we stand with those, get an update, and hopefully not many are going to carry over to next year, but we'll review those as well. And again, that's Wednesday the 16th. Thank you.
Thank you. Recreation and Playgrounds, please.
Recreation and Playgrounds did meet on October 27th, and the rough draft minutes are posted on the website. We had a long meeting. It was primarily addressing the agenda, or I'm sorry, not the agenda, the budget for the coming year. I learned, kind of being new to the process, that next year it would be good to start that earlier. So I'll be reaching out in August to meet with Tom and David, probably to get going a little sooner. But we had a long discussion about maintenance concerns around the village, things to prioritize, you know, where staff shortage and tight budget is affecting us. So that was helpful. We came up with a list of some things to try to price out just projects that we would like to be able to tackle, upgrades or things like that. If it's okay with the committee, we did not actually vote on that budget, but if it's okay, could we just kick it over to finance and vote on it when the finance committee meets? Is that fair? Is that okay to do?
Okay.
No, we're not breaking any rules if we do that? Okay. All right. And another update is just that there's a group of residents who's been working to try to raise some money towards new playground equipment at Summit Park, sort of reaching to the larger, like, regional area organizations to try to raise some funds, and they're hopeful of creating something that's a little bit more handicap accessible than what the other playgrounds are that we have so far. So hopefully we hear good news from them in the coming months about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Streets, Public Improvements and Lights, please.
The Streets Committee did not meet, and I will attempt to schedule a meeting offline for a Streets Committee.
Thank you. Utilities, please.
Utilities Committee did meet last week, and strangely enough, after some months of effort, we've got approval to replace our mechanical water meters with remote read meters, which will make your billing situation as a resident, you'll be able to know how much you're using and what your bill's going to be, and there are many options that we'll consider, I think, including possibly billing monthly to make it easier to budget. I think that's correct. Is that possible? Is it?
I don't want to overpromise, but
it's a possibility.
we're going to get comfortable with the current meters, but it's a potential.
Yeah, that was not to imply that's happening now.
No.
It is possible.
Mm-hmm.
But we, as you heard in the ordinances, we approved purchase of the 1,000 plus meters, And that's good news because they've worked on it for a couple of years now. That was basically the content of our meeting, but we will schedule soon, hopefully next week, to meet again as a Utilities Committee. And like to look at the accomplishments so far in 2022, knowing what we achieved based on what we projected back in January. Then also begin to look at the 2023 budget and what needs to be done there. And to begin to look at the mains that were mentioned that need to be replaced, because there are many of them, and that will be a program over a number of years. So we need to begin to have that discussion. So there are a lot of projects ahead, and I look forward to beginning to address them next week.
Thank you. We turn to reports from the clerk and treasurer. Madam Clerk.
I'd like to thank council for approving the appropriations for our part-time person in the office. I expect we will start to see incremental improvements quickly, and then we'll make some massive improvements towards the end of next year because we've got an experienced person now who can help us plow through some of the UAN stuff and the reporting stuff that we've had problems getting enough resources against. So expect next year to be much more productive and much more interesting in reading your reports.
Thank you. Mr. Treasurer.
Council has a copy of our summary for the month of October. I was looking at the remainder year, expected returns we'll be getting. It looks like I'll probably exceed our commitments to the Glendale community here by about 30,000. So,
Great news.
well, I think inflation is helping us. But,
It is helping us. But
helping me, not helping us.
Eye on the ball helps us too.
Yeah. So that's all.
Thank you. We turn to financial expenditure and financial reports. We have received 2 reports. The 2022-10 general checking certification for the payment of certain bills, and the 2022-10 enterprise checking certification for the payment of certain bills. Do I have a motion to acknowledge receipt of these reports?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. We had hoped to have the financial reports for the third quarter done, and David tells me those are likely to be ready by when?
Tomorrow or Wednesday. I had a few last minute things to post. And if I may, Mayor, to go off of our clerk's statements, that the new part-time hire will assist us with more timely, more informational, more extensive financial reporting to council and to the public. I want to very quickly address, there were public comments made that used, in my estimation, offensive language to describe our financial reporting. I take that personally because that is one of my responsibilities. So I appreciate council's understanding and effort to assist me in growing that part of our operation. And so I appreciate that and look forward to, as Becky has said, a bright 2023 and more information than you know what to do with.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, David. I had intended to say something myself, and I slipped away from me. But really, we do an excellent job of keeping our financial records, and that is shown by the fact that the audit that we just completed last year went over a two-year period, and while there were things that they could find that could be improved, because that's what auditors do, they were very clear that there was nothing they found that caused them to really feel concerned that any wrongdoing was taking place. At one point, they just informally said, "This is a clean audit." Flat out, that was what they said. So I feel good about our financial picture at this point, and but I do see the opportunity to improve, particularly as we go to the new accounting system. And it's going to be wonderful to have somebody who has a lot of experience with that system to help us out. And also then to help you and Sally get out those financial reports that we really do want, and we really need them.
And frankly, with the new water meters, to give Spencer something to do with all of his new free time.
There we go.
So,
He won't have any free time.
No.
Trust me. There's a lot backed up that we need for him to do. With that, I am going to ask that, seek a motion to go into executive session. The purpose of this, as it says in the announcement, is to consider the purchase of property for public purposes pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22, G2. And this is the sort of thing where if you're thinking about buying property, you can't do that in the full view of public, because the public includes potential sellers. And potential sellers would then know what you're thinking about and how you're going to approach this property and that. You just can't do it. So the Ohio Code Ohio is one of the most open states in the country for open meetings, but they recognize that there are certain things that feasibly have to be done privately, and this is one of them. So I'm going to ask for a motion to go into executive session for the purpose that I just stated.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is it a roll call vote, or is that okay?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Okay, we are now in executive session, so I'm going to ask the one member of the public who's still there to please leave the chambers.
I'm going to turn off the microphones too.
Okay, thank you.
Kathy.
But they are surrounded by concrete.
Do I have a motion to leave executive session and return to the regular session?
You do, second first.
So moved.
All those in favor, oh, do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And with that, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. Thank you. Thank you all.